What's up, people? Welcome to the Health is Wealth podcast. Today's episode is all about redefining your training. What's up, people? Welcome to the Health is Wealth podcast. Co-host Bobby Jackson's with us, and his guest, Rob, his client from Custom Fit Institute.
That's right. We finally got Rob on the show here. Thank you for working us in. I know you're working like a dog with the job now, but wanted to bring you in and let you tell your story about going through college sports. Of course, football. I got my little Minnesota Vikings shirt on. Big football weekend for us. Your transition, which I find incredibly interesting, of that really high level of training you got, working your way up into college sports. And then now, which a lot of people find interesting, is that transitioning and redefining the purpose of your training now that you're just working in an office and kind of doing, more of what most people are doing now. So tell them a little bit about kind of where you're from and of course, the big college experience right there.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys for having me on.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I played at a D3 school up in the Northeast. I'm from the Boston area. And so, I was a fat guy in college, a D lineman. So, growing up was always just get as big, strong, and fast as possible. Played 4 years of college, got hurt my sophomore year with an ACL. But then, it ends quickly when you're not going to the NFL. So it's, November 11th or whatever the last game was, it's, then you're done and you're a normal person then.
Which you would also always thought about, okay, you're going to end up in some form of business, right? Had you ever kind of had the thought of, okay, I want to make a run at the NFL and try to get into the league? Or had it been kind of just, okay, I just want to play my heart out. You obviously love the sport and it's just, okay, let's just have a killer college run at it and then move on.
Yeah, I think it's, I think football, that there's just a point when the dream dies. It's not like, baseball or hockey where the size you are doesn't really matter. Like if you can hit a baseball, you can hit a baseball. In hockey, if you're 5'5" or bigger, like you can, right? It's all stick skills and skating, right? But football, if you watch an NFL game, they all look about the same size, but you don't realize if you put a normal person out there how big NFL players are. So, by the time you're halfway through high school, you kind of know if you got it or you don't.
Yeah. Did you know though? Did you know when you were in high school that you weren't going to play pro?
By my senior year, when I was 5'12", yes, I was like, all right, the dream is dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the other cool part was you played other sports too. So
Right.
Sometimes we hear from kids like, Jason and I being from the Midwest, we just play a little bit of every sport, right? It's that we just love playing different stuff. And typically when you get people that get into that high level college athletics, a lot of times they've specialized so hard from even a young age. And more recently, I found out you were actually crushing some other sports pretty well too.
Yeah. So I grew up in baseball. I think I played hockey when I was really young. For like a year.
For being in Boston,
Yeah,
you
Boston,
got to go throw some people around.
Yeah, and then got into a little track and field in high school and a bit of lacrosse as well.
Yeah, man. And so lacrosse, that's another one too. Is I've been able to work with a couple lacrosse athletes as well at Custom Fitness. It's that size and just your own genetic potential, right? It's our proportions, it's our height, all that stuff kind of determines, the success of the sport. Like you had mentioned, the NFL, there's nobody really at 6 foot tall like me. I'm not going to make it either. It's like, how much of that was is common in those other sports that you'd played? I mean, you made the comment about baseball already, but like lacrosse, was that something maybe you thought you might end up playing in college, or was that not really something that had much of a draw?
Not really, because I hadn't played it before high school. So for me, it was something I was picking up later than everyone else. And lacrosse is also a sport that, typically I think people play kind of year round, whereas I played it for, 12 weeks in the spring, and outside of that, not too much.
Yeah.
So I also think kind of for me, I noticed playing lacrosse, you weren't a lacrosse player when I was, 8 to 10, right? When you're trying out all the different sports, lacrosse wasn't really a thing yet, at least in the Northeast. And so you were primarily a baseball player, primarily a football player, who also played lacrosse.
Yeah.
Whereas now I think that there's a lot more people who actually are lacrosse players.
Yeah, and when you say it like that, I mean, Jason, you remember that too, right? It was like we always had the people around that, okay, that person plays basketball. Like I got the story, the kid I went to high school with, and he was going to play basketball professionally. Not sure where, but that's what the kid's going to do. So the other sports were just that little stay in shape, still have fun, blah, blah, blah. But he was a basketball player. And I think, Rob, you said it perfectly. It's that, okay, you were a football player and you use those other sports as like maybe complementing your conditioning and still having fun in the off season. But it's like how many people and how many new sports now really come up as like, okay, no, now you have to specialize in that from a very young age to actually make it. So that is interesting. So what age were you at when you knew, okay, I'm going to play college ball? Because even that to me, like I didn't play any sports for my college, was like, that's huge, man. That's huge. When did you know, like, oh man, I'm gonna get into a college program for it?
Well, I think there's kind of like two things there. I think it's like, when did I realize that I wanted to play in college, and when did I realize that I could play in college?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
because it's kind of a pyramid shape that, like, you have a lot of kids who play in high school and less that play in college, and less that play professionally. I probably knew that I wanted to try and play college football by the time I was in like 8th, 9th grade, and realized that I probably could play college football like physically, like sophomore, junior year.
Really? Okay. Oh wow.
Really starting to like go to college camps and seeing that I could actually compete.
Yeah, I saw some of your old interviews when you were.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was early high school. You're getting interviewed on a couple camps.
Yeah.
Where was that?
Those were at a combine down in, I think it was in middle school for those.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you were still bigger than me then, so.
Yeah. So those. They interviewed everyone at the camp, and they put those on YouTube. And the company has since gone out of business. That
because of that.
Yeah, probably because they're putting like middle schoolers interviews on YouTube. But yeah, so those are pretty funny, and there's no way to get them down for me. So.
I thought they were good. That was really cool. And that's like, but again, it sheds that light on, man, how young people start to already look at the prospects now.
Yeah.
Or like, of course, the higher you get, I think they start looking younger, right? It's like those guaranteed NBA players or those guaranteed NFL athletes. They're kind of already getting groomed from like a middle school age, right? It's like, okay, we already know they're going to be just a genetic phenom, and then all of a sudden we just got to make sure we coach them properly. So
yeah, that's the scary part. You hear about, especially in the Olympics, that they start so young. They're out there, and we just know this with American sports that but we know as trainers that the more the better when you're young. You want variety. That makes you a better athlete. The mobility is different all over places. And then nowadays it's so strict. You got kids only playing football from 8 years on, and that's the only thing. So they're only going forward and backwards in that sport. They don't get to play basketball or lacrosse or anything else. So, which I think benefit us, because I got to play so many different sports. I mean, I played everything. So.
Yeah. Or the importance of getting with the right type of training staff, right? It's okay, we're not doing sport-specific training for 12 months out of the year. Find that strength and conditioning coach, okay, and work on some weaknesses in that off season. And we can be fit and we can still be training for the purpose of whatever our sport might be, but getting with the right type of training to make sure that we're working those complementing muscle groups, we're doing injury prevention, we're staying mobile and all that other stuff. So had you already been working with different types of coaches and things like that when you were still in like the middle school ball, or were you just kind of working with the school program at that time?
No. So when I was in middle school, and I think towards the end of middle school is when I started going to the gym, both because like that's when you're old enough to go to a gym.
Yeah, good.
But
it was crazy parents.
Yeah. But yeah, so it was really like end of middle school, high school that I started actually like working out. Because like up until then, it's just the biggest, strongest kid naturally is like the best on the field.
And at those ages, right? It's like that person hit puberty like 6 months early, and so they're just twice the size of everybody else. So it's funny how very short amount of time makes such a huge difference at a young age. But then, yeah, once we get later into high school,
even in high school, it was the high school I went to took postgraduates, so they're really like freshmen in college who come back to play an extra year.
What?
Yeah. So,
really?
So
whoa.
Yeah, so if you look at like a football team, right, you have the freshmen, and then you also have like the postgraduates, which means you have 14-year-olds and you have 19-year-olds.
Oh my God, that's a huge, that's a broad range right there.
That just physically like is just a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. Did that help with your confidence then when you were playing well in high school and early on, saying, okay, I'm actually hanging with some of these kids who are legal adults that are somehow still trying to hit me on the field? I mean,
so funny story that you bring that up.
Perfect.
My freshman year of high school, I was able to make the varsity team, and halfway through the first game, broke my leg.
Jesus!
Not because I was totally physically outmatched, but I was physically outmatched. Not like getting dominated, but like there is just, you're 14, you're out there, you make a couple plays, but like there's a couple plays where, the 19-year-old who should be in college is going to take you to school. Like
that is insane. Is that a Northeast thing? I mean, I don't remember hearing about any schools like that.
Yeah, it's in Minnesota. It's a Northeast prep school thing.
Okay.
So it's like all the boarding schools in the Northeast, which when you mention a boarding school in like other parts of the country, it's like, what did you do wrong?
Yeah, exactly. That's our thing too. It's like, oh man, it's like sending you out to the farm right there. Okay. Yeah, interesting. So then your training kind of evolved. You had been working at Boyle's, right? Big famous strength and conditioning facility up in Boston. And that's kind of, you got into that to complement kind of what you had been doing for football. Was that just as the job? Because I know you kind of worked there for a couple of years. What was kind of the process for that?
Yeah, it was part of it was just getting ready for football and coming in ready to go, each season. The other thing was just like I enjoyed it and needed a summer job. So it was in part a hobby and in part a job and actually learning a lot. I think you kind of realize you learn a lot from working with kids. So like working there was, you train groups of kids that are 8 to 10, both in the number of kids in the group and in age. It starts from like, middle schoolers. And just, I think I learned a lot just professionally from that. Realizing that like a middle schooler will tell you if you're doing a bad job, whereas like an adult client probably wouldn't.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, kids with no filters.
Yeah,
definitely keep it on honor policy. That's good. Yeah. Okay, cool.
So going back to college, you had an ACL issue there. So you have a broken bone through high school.
Yep.
And then an ACL issue through every phase you've had an injury.
Yep. So, and they were very different. So like the ankle, right, and the leg was very much, you get the cast off and it's stiff when you get the cast off and then you're good to go. Whereas the ACL was very different in that it was a full year at least before it felt like 100%. And kind of along the way, you think you're feeling good. And then like 3 months later, you look back and you're just like, I literally couldn't walk.
Yep. It's that rubber band effect with the tendons that we all deal with.
Yep. So that was a grind, like recovering from the ACL and just like very different from any other injury I had. But I think, the ACL was in some ways like a blessing in disguise. I think it, on one hand, made me realize that there is life after football and like, you got to figure out a career.
Yeah, good.
The other part of it was just like, working out to feel good at that point. And like actually thinking more about like the injury prevention stuff and really like focusing on that in training. Because at some point, like you're big enough and you're strong enough, right? And it doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm still not, but okay, I'll take your word for it.
At some point, right? If you can bench, 300 pounds, like what does it matter if you do 305, right? What does it matter if you do 310, right? There's other things you can focus on at that point.
Yeah, that's just you having your ego in check, which I admire too. It's like that's something that a lot of people need to drop, especially when maybe they really had that good connection with their athletic history, yet now they're in their 30s or 40s, you know what I mean? They're Jason and I's peers, but they're still trying to brag about and have that little Instagram post or Facebook post about, oh man, I just set a new PR. And it's like, that also ties into another one of our episodes we did a couple weeks ago. Nobody cares. So if you guys haven't seen that one yet, you got to check it out. But that's exactly it. It's that at the end of the day, train for how you feel. Train for longevity, train for function, not training for, like you said, what the hell's the difference between 300 and 305 pounds?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if I can do 300 or 305, you guys don't care, right? And you shouldn't care, but it's like, yeah, that's it. It's, does that feel good? Am I going to hurt myself in order to do 305? And so now the risk makes it totally unnecessary anyway. And it's like, yeah, that's a good way to look at it too. And especially coming from an athlete, that had to have been, I mean, that's very uncommon, I feel like, is that to be able to have that in check so quickly.
Yeah, and I think you also just have to, at some point, like, take into account, like, how long have you been training for, right? If you're someone that's been hitting the gym every day, you know, at the point that I'm in college, right, I've been in the gym 5+ days a week, like, for 6 years at that point, right? Like, I'm at, you know, 22, 23 then, right? Like, you're not going to be getting that much stronger. Whereas, like, if you're new to the gym, right, you might be going then from, like, you know, 150 to 250 on the bench, which makes sense to keep kind of pushing yourself. But at some point, right, it just changes and you kind of are maxing out your own frame.
Yeah. And that's a good point too, to kind of our beginners or new listeners or people who haven't maybe made it into the gym quite yet. You brought up a great point on, okay, when you first get to the gym, yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it takes a while to get just psychologically used to going to the gym, physically used to putting that strain on the body. But the results you see at the beginning are the fastest ones you ever see, right? It's that, okay, you can fine tune the athlete and small changes are as much as you can get. But for you guys out there that haven't got into the gym yet or are just starting out, you got to stick with it, because those are the times where you can really see a lot of progress very quickly. And then it just slowly gets, you know, slower and slower as you get fitter and fitter. So taking advantage of those early days is definitely important. But so for you, it was, okay, we're not squeezing any more blood out of a rock. We're having fun playing ball. No NFL. You had already, you know, you're getting your degree in econ, right? It was, okay, we're looking for the business opportunities and the career kind of starting right after that. And then you went straight in, no time after college. You went straight into a great job. And right with that, just the same way you were talking about with like post-injury, was you were able to do a great job in my eyes of, okay, reevaluating the purpose of your training. The whole, the whole topic of this episode is that, what's the purpose of our training? Why are we training? And how can we do it as effectively and as smoothly on our body as possible? So at one point you're lifting just crazy amounts of weight because power and strength were pretty much the top priority over, you know, the basic skills of your sport. But then right away you were able to pull that off. Not only had you developed your body to be, I mean, phenomenally huge, but that, which ended up being unnecessary in the office. But what were some of those first types of exercise that you were kind of looking not only to cut out, but then also to add in after football?
Yeah. I think one of the things was just like, I wouldn't do cardio while I was playing football, because I got the cardio running on the field, actually, you know, I would do some conditioning, some sprinting, but like I would never get on a treadmill. Where I think part of it is just like realizing like that's part of it, to either warm up, cool down, like whatever it is, like after you're playing sports, right, you're not going out and actually practicing and playing and doing like field work anymore, right? So that was like the cardio part for me. And then it's just kind of figuring out like what I liked to do. Like I don't really like to go jogging.
Okay, that right? makes all of us. That's good.
So it's just like, you know, I'm not going to go for a run. You know, I like to ride. I've picked up riding the Peloton, which is nice. I think it like keeps you engaged. But it was just like, you know, I don't really like to sit there and like stare at a wall for like 45 minutes. Or go on like the Stairmaster for like 45 minutes, it just gets boring, right?
And Jason, you got the same thing too. And any of us, no matter what level we were playing sports at, that team environment, right? It's that teammate, it's like-minded people, and it's that having that environment and the culture in the room, whether it's the locker room and on the field, whether it's at a group fitness facility, whatever it is, sometimes just that little team energy kind of brings it together, right?
Well, yeah, for me, looking back, I've had quite a few years now to look back of my mindset.
You've had a lot of years.
I think, Rob, I just met you, but I think you were really mature in your decision making with your athletic career. Where for me personally, looking back, it was the competition I missed, and I refused to let that go for a really long time, probably my mid-20s, before I realized, okay, what else is going to make me competitive outside of sports, and changing that into a career. And at the time I was doing accounting. So that was a big change for me. It was missing that competition. And it sounds like you had a pretty good head on your shoulders at the time and realized, okay, I'm going to get to this goal and then find on another goal. And you graduating college recently, recently, I mean, not like me, not years ago, but recently, and stuff, with an economics degree, and moving forward into your career. And at the same time, like Bobby said, switching your training program, I think is big, because a lot of people think they can maintain whatever their look they have, especially younger females, in my experience, where they're like, yeah, it's good. I'm going to eat what I'm going to eat and enjoy my weekends, and realize, okay, now I'm 30 and I haven't worked out in 6 years.
It's the eating kept up, the exercise level went down, they're at a calorie surplus for about 10 years, and all of a sudden they realize they've essentially physically let themselves go entirely, even though it's, well, I used to be so fit, you should have seen me in high school sports. It's like, okay, well,
Rob, did you take a break? Did you take a break when football was over from college, and take 6 months to a year where you just like, maybe I'll jump in with some workouts with some people, but not every week?
No, I'm someone who I've kind of just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And it was just like part of my day. So like it was just kind of, it just, I woke up every morning and I'm like, well, I'm used to going to the gym, so I guess I'll just go to the gym.
Man,
I think
that's
big.
great.
I think, as young as you are, I think that's huge.
Because amongst our peers, man, that's something that people lose really quickly too. And it's like, because your job is so demanding and you're pretty much on call like 20 hours a day, it sounds like, it would be so easy for you to drop that habit, right? We were talking about that before the show. It's like, you need to know that that's going to help you be more productive throughout the day and throughout the week, right? And for people who have never had that, that's the hardest thing that Jason and I have to deal with in our industry, is convincing people of how much better they're going to feel if they started working out, right? So when we talk with people that weren't the athlete, no exercise experience, nothing, they don't know, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. They don't even understand. They just think, oh, it's going to be uncomfortable going to the gym and everything's going to hurt. Not like you, man, I wake up in the morning and I got to sweat. I got to pump up a couple muscles. I just got to get the body moving and the blood flowing a little bit, and that endorphin reaction and everything. It's like, yeah, I don't, it's so difficult to try to convince people of getting into that habit, that it's great that you kept it.
Yeah, but I think a big part of it for me was just like, again, like figuring out like what I enjoyed doing. Because I'm not going to get out of bed at 6 a.m. to go for a run, kind of like I said. But like I've tried yoga, tried running, figured out I didn't like it, biking, like weightlifting, right? So it's just like figuring out what gets you out of bed in the morning that you actually would be excited to do.
So what is it? What is it exciting outside of the Peloton?
Let's see. So I like going to custom fitness with Bobby.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. No,
I wore the shirt and everything today. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it.
But is there something that you and Bobby tend to do that you guys talked about when you guys first started training? Do you like the HIIT training? Is it more of the biceps and triceps to keep your girlfriend around? What is it?
I like the kind of just like circuit training. So working through a couple things and not just, isolating biceps for like 90 minutes at a time, right? I like kind of mixing it up and just getting a good sweat going. For me, I feel best after like a hard workout where you get like really sweaty.
Those endorphins, man.
Yeah.
That endorphin hit, it's almost like kickoff time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it, are you big on your calorie count? And do you have a watch? You guys counting calories doing that? Does that motivate you through it? Are you doing anything like that with Bobby? You guys doing anything like that?
We're not counting calories burned, and nutritionally, I know you do a pretty good job at eating from what it sounds like. I try to dig in and get the details on how you and Katie are typically eating in the day of the week. So I mean, that's something that also seems like it's held, is like, okay, you also made the adjustment post college sports is the quality of food was already great. You just knew naturally, okay, you got to drop it down a little bit, right? Because we're not replenishing after 7 days straight of crazy workouts with a bunch of other, big old meathead looking guys. So that's another thing I think people miss on too, is the exercise and activity level comes down and the calories don't follow down just a little bit too.
Right.
Or they're eating horrible quality food all the time, right? And so it's like just finding out what's really going to make us feel better. You kind of track your weight and the way your clothes fit more too. Like one of the jokes Rob had to make was like, okay, I don't have to custom tailor all my pants again because my legs got so big and strong. Like all of my work pants had to be like custom made, and it's like, okay, that's a good,
So the single leg
good goal right there.
375
Was just
squats
like
don't matter anymore.
just jacked.
No,
was
no,
like,
I-
And you can
okay.
fit in your jeans. You don't have to wear your you don't have to wear your college sweatpants and
Yeah, there you go.
represent the alumni
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
time because you can
exactly,
fit in
yeah.
some normal clothes again.
Yeah.
I've
So
been
so
there.
those are really the metrics that you look at rather than calorie counting, calories in, calories out and all that, right? It's been pretty much the scale and the clothes fitting.
Yeah. I mean, like eating wise, I just aim for like a B plus. Like that's kind of my
that's good, yeah.
like if there's fried chicken or grilled chicken, I'll probably get the grilled chicken.
There you go. Yeah.
And I'll weigh myself like once a week. Just and make sure that my clothes continue to fit because that was one thing ending my like football career in college and deciding to lose like what it was like close to 50 pounds at the time. It was a very expensive decision.
Yeah.
None of my clothes that I had been wearing at that point for 4 years fit anymore. Just because
You had just built yourself up to just
Yeah.
And most
being
ladies
gigantic.
listening to that, we like, please,
Yeah.
please. My husband or boyfriend will buy some more clothes for me.
but that is a genuinely great measurement tool of how do the clothes fit, right? That's somebody, I had a client, gentleman that I used to train at the same gym that Jason's at, and it was, okay, the weight on the scale's not moving, man. What are we doing with our workouts? I wanted to be lighter. I was okay, well, what else is changing? Anything else on your body? Well, yeah, I mean, my belt's 2 loops in, but still, like, I'm not any lighter. It's like, okay, well, we just replaced some body fat with a little bit of muscle. And yes, you still weigh the same, but your body composition is dramatically different. And the biggest sign of that is, okay, clothing adjustment right here. Okay, shirts are getting baggy around the waist, belt loops are coming in, and it's like, that's genuinely a good metric. That's the same, we don't get the same number, but it's the same as hitting with the measuring tape, telling us whether we're getting bigger or smaller rather than just dwelling on the scale too. So I like that.
Yeah, I always use for the females putting up one of their favorite dress that they wish they could wear again and stuff, and put it out. You have to physically see it a day. You don't have to weigh yourself every day, but you have to physically see it. And then, like you said, that muscle will switch over. The fat to muscle will switch over, and then you realize that you're good.
Yeah.
Because once you can prove that to females, and females compared to in the early 2000s and the 90s and beforehand, it's not a big intimidation thing to have nice toned arms anymore and stuff like that. They prefer that nowadays and stuff. So there's something interesting I want to talk about, the similarities to your college football career to now your working career, and you're a analyst within the financial service area, right?
Yep.
So I want you to, we were talking about this before the show. I'm a little excited to hear what your comparisons are being right in the start of your career.
Yeah. So in college, like playing sports was very much every day was basically the same routine. It was wake up, lift, go to class all day, go to practice, go to dinner, do homework, go to bed. And that was basically every day.
Yeah.
Very consistent.
Very consistent.
Structured.
Yep, very structured. You knew where you needed to be and when you needed to be there. I found that, in my career so far, my day-to-day stays pretty consistent. It's, wake up in the morning, work out, get to work around the same time. You work kind of all day, and then, kind of have some debrief type meetings towards the end of the day. And then you have your homework to take away at the end of the day, and wrap that up in kind of the evening, and then make your way to bed. And so I found from just, being able to keep a routine every day, that's been pretty similar. I think the other thing is just, in the field that I'm in, there's, each year there's like an analyst class. And so you kind of have a group of people going through and working on similar things that are at the same point in their career, very much like teammates you had in college, and it's collaborative, and I think like
nice.
that's been an enjoyable part of it.
Have you noticed any thing like just the comparison of like the season, how long your football season was versus like you got to break down mentally, okay, I got to get through the first quarter, the second quarter, third quarter, reward yourself, okay, and take a little break mentally or physically through your career now that kind of you did with your football, like, okay, I'm not going to smash helmets for 6 weeks at least.
Yeah. I noticed it pretty quickly after graduation. So, whenever you're in college, you at most have like 10 weeks, and then you have a week off, or you have a month off. Whereas like I graduated in May of 2019, and I think by August, I kind of said to myself, like, oh my God, like 50 more years of this.
So at a young age, like you're just starting out your career, have you figured out your like a goal for you, just you personally, like, okay, let me get to the Friday. Is it a project that you're trying to get done, another client? Is there a reward system for you? Like, okay, I'm going to give myself a couple of days to kind of recharge, and then I can go hard again, kind of like a football season?
Yeah, I think obviously with like a pandemic it changed it a bit.
Yeah.
Because like you're always at home, so you're always at the office in that sense. But I've just I break it down like week to week and just say like, okay, make it to Friday, and then you have your weekend to relax, and just for me it's very much like when you're working, and when you're not, you're kind of unplugged.
Yeah.
And that kind of works the same with finding a time every day to like exercise, like regardless of when that is. And I think it's just like keeping the routine for me, and knowing like each morning from like 6 to 7, right, I'm gonna be unplugged from work and I'm gonna be exercising, and it's just like keeping that kind of breaks it up and keeps it so that keeps you sane.
Yeah, that's good. And that, we like to promote that too, which is that get that workout done in the morning kind of a thing, right? My excuses come up throughout the day and make it harder and harder for me to get that end of the day workout in, right? So it's just, okay, plan on getting up just that little bit early, get that workout in, no matter what it is too. And you also happen to be using a strategy that Jason and I talk a lot about too, with use trial and error to figure out what types of exercise you like to do. We're not going to tell you to just do our favorite kind of thing. It's try the biking, try the running, try resistance training, try yoga, get Zumba, whatever you got to do, but you just got to do it. The only thing you can't do is just not exercise at all, right? We got to use our bodies somehow, whether it's in a gym or whether it's just riding the bike around the block, right? It's like, just find that thing, let yourself just be disconnected. And first thing in the morning, you're most likely to get it in, right? There's no excuses. And then it's going to be more focused on just the workout, fewer distractions. And you're not going to think, I got to race home and answer that email, or, oh shoot, I forgot that call I was supposed to do it, at lunchtime. It's no, get it done before, get it done in the morning, and just try to hammer it out every day. That's a good way to do it. So,
Rob, do you find the workouts nowadays, now that you're out of football, out of college, your downtime, that you get your kind of peace with yourself if you're pushing hard? Do you find that you're I mean, I know you guys work together at Bobby's studio and everything, but is that your go away time, and then you give 100% to your family and career after that? Is that kind of what your release is, or do you have something else?
No. For me, like fitness, I think is a release of stress. Like I think it kind of, that's one thing I've kind of always found, is that it's a way to kind of de-stress for me. Other than that, I mean, I just kind of relax. And since March, it's been there's not too much to do, but I think it's either, whether it's specifically like exercising on the bike, or in the gym, or hiking or something like that. I think kind of ways to stay active but not realize that you're staying active, like go for a swim, something like that. So I think that there's a lot of ways that I've found to like kind of introduce fitness, but not kind of trick myself into thinking I'm doing something else.
Yeah. And that's an interesting concept too. You're describing the most tiring, physically stressful moments of your day as the most relaxing, right? It's that everything else is over the phone, on the internet, taking calls, talking to, coworkers, all that other stuff. None of that's physically demanding, yet that's more stress than the physical stress that you see in the gym. And you're categorizing that as, oh no, that's me time. That's my most relaxed moments. That's my most freeing and enjoyable times of the day, is when you're having stress loaded onto your body, which I think is really interesting.
Well, it's like dodgeball. You got to break a mental sweat.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
right. Like
yeah.
in the gym, you can just kind of unplug mentally for a bit, right? You don't have to think too much about doing cable pulls. You just do them.
You just do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always been my thing. Even the morning workouts that's my release time, and then it's 100% to whatever my day brings me, my customers, my family, whatever it is. Now I'm 100% in, and I'll be honest. I'm a little mess if I miss a day or two activity wise in the morning, because if I miss I'm only disappointing myself. I'm not disappointing anyone else. But that sets my day right there. And I know other people, and I brought this up before, do other things, meditation, reading, and stuff in the morning. Whatever it is, we're just big promotions of this on this podcast of being fit early.
It's got to be exercise, right? And I'm noticing that more every year of my life is when I don't work out, I have less energy, which is really hard to explain to somebody who doesn't exercise, because they think, no, the exercise requires energy. So after the exercise, I'm going to be more exhausted. I'll have even less energy for the rest of my day. And so how is that even going to be, possible to work into my routine now? And it's no, by me exercising, it creates more energy. I'm more alert for the rest of the day. I'm more focused. I'm actually feeling physically better and more energized if I get that workout in the morning. So yeah, if I miss 2-3 days in a row, it's significant difference on my energy system, which I also think is very unique. So,
and I think you just have to realize that you don't have to totally crush yourself like every single time you exercise. Right?
That's the new science.
Do you find yourself changing your routines? Because I know you travel from Boston to Fort Lauderdale, Pompano area. Do you find yourself when you're up north, you're doing hiking and out and about more, and down here you're doing more weight training with Bobby? Have you noticed anything like that you're switching it up?
Not too much. I'm just a creature of habit, so I try and keep it pretty consistent. Obviously, you can't quite go running outside in January, February.
Come on
in
now,
Boston.
man. You gotta get ready for the hockey.
But no, and being down here, I think I find myself being probably outside less in the summer down here because it's kind of warmer, but all throughout kind of the spring and whatnot. Yeah, I think I found myself outside more down here just because the weather is consistent, right? Being able to get outside versus you might go 4 straight days of rain up north.
Now I know you understand those endorphin highs that you get after the workout and stuff. Do you notice any difference of your production at work coming from an awesome workout and you have that endorphins going right into your work day? Do you notice your performance levels at the beginning of the day better?
Yeah, I think I just find myself being a bit more locked in, a bit more focused than anything else. I think I find like if I don't exercise for a day or two, trying to work, like I can more easily be distracted or have a hard time really locking in on something and just getting something done. Whereas I find if I get a pretty good workout in the morning, I can kind of hit the desk and be good to go.
Yeah, I have a couple clients that run off their offices, and there's a standing joke with a couple of guys that I'm thinking of that they're so amped up compared to everyone else's level that they think they've already had 3 cups of coffee, and really it was just that endorphin high that they had from their little workouts in the morning, and that they're bringing that energy into the room already, where everyone else is just waking up still 2 hours into their day working. So,
but Jason, how about the number of people we've met who are just trying to get into health and fitness, or maybe they're still kind of pushing back against wanting to get into the gym because, as they describe it, no, I feel great throughout the day. I don't exercise. I'm not doing anything for my fitness, but yeah, my body's in reasonably good shape, and no, my energy throughout the day is fine, and I sleep okay. But no, I'm good. I feel proficient, and it's just that okay, you might be surviving that, but you still don't know what it truly feels like to feel good. So this thing where Rob is just charging himself up in the morning and just ripping through the rest of the day, it's okay. If you didn't exercise, now you'd feel the difference. for the people who've never exercised, they don't realize how much better they could actually feel. They could feel truly good and get even more out of the day. It's just, you're just unknowingly suffering through a lower energy level because you don't really know what it's like. And it's like so difficult to see people struggling through that and then end up letting themselves go. So
Yeah, I think Rob's a good example of that, of showing you that okay, yeah, like you said, Bobby, most people that are average, that aren't working out on a regular routine and feel fine most days, they don't know any worse.
they feel fine.
They're fine. They don't know anything until their doctor tells them, "Hey, you need to get moving and stuff." And then you got Rob over here performing and able to get things done twice. So we'll use the analogy of, okay, what if I told you that if you're doing a power walk 30 minutes in the morning, you can get those 5 top things that you need to get done at work in half the time done. Yeah. Are you going to do it? Probably. I know Rob's signing up for that if he can get the stuff done quicker.
Well, that'll be the cool part to see later on for Rob, right? It's that, okay, now you've got this great combination of good nutrition, good exercise, still very different than what you did in football, but that's not the purpose anymore. So now you're going into the office, already applying all these other great things out of the office. People now are probably, oh yeah, Rob, you feel great and you look great, but that's only because you're 23, 24. Okay, well, if you keep doing this, they're going to be trying to say that to you when you're 34, and it's just because, no, you're doing the right things. You're genuinely doing all these good things that are helping you physically, mentally, and emotionally, even out of the office. And it's those people that are trying to just probably attribute it to your age now. But what Jason and I see is, okay, you're going to hit 30 and still look great and still feel good, and they're not going to have anything to say because
I get the compliment all the time. I look 25 years old.
Do you though? Who says that?
Yeah.
Does your mother
Everyone.
say that?
My mom tells me
Your
that
mother
every
says
day.
that?
All the time. But
All right.
man, no, everyone tells me I look amazing for my age. And then they're like, "You're what age?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm that age."
Yeah, I got to color my gray hairs in because I don't get that. But I think I will eventually, right? That's like the skinny guy problems when I was younger is like, okay, now that I'm in my 30s, it's...
Well, the good thing
at
is
least
you
I
have
don't look
a
terrible.
business in the gym world. So if you end up being that skinny dad bod guy, you're going to have problems building
Yeah, I
your
can't get
business.
skinny fat if
Yeah,
I own a
skinny
gym
fat.
still. So yeah, I'll have to get into
See,
accounting.
Rob
or something.
and me, we're a little thicker than you, so we can get away with, hey, we're just lifting heavy now. That's what we're
Yeah.
bulk season now.
Yeah.
There's bulk season, and
Yeah.
especially if he sneaks up to Boston during the wintertime, and all of a sudden he says, "I'm deadlifting again." Like, okay,
yeah.
he's not doing any spinning right now.
Yeah, just gonna get huge, right? Well, yeah. So real quick, what was the max weight you were at when you were? I suppose it was off-season football weight. Was your peak?
Yeah. It was probably 250.
Man,
5'12", 250. Wow.
but that was a catch too. And how big were you when I first met you? Right, it was a few years ago. We had the connection. You came into Custom Fit. You were still the athlete, right? Which I really admire getting to see you in your, we'll say prime like output, I guess, for strength and conditioning. What size? I mean, you were certified silverback gorilla looking back then. Was that around that time?
Yeah. So that was probably 240, and
Okay.
then my senior year was my skinniest year.
Skinny, yeah.
But
But not a lot of body fat. Like that's the catch. Like that was the most impressive was like we saw the output in your strength and conditioning, even doing like agility stuff or sprints on the assault bike or all those other little things on like your performance was incredible. You did weigh a lot, but there wasn't body fat associated with it. Like
it was I don't do neck planks anymore, right? Like it's right, like so, like my neck, I think I've probably lost 3 or 4.
We're gonna have to add those back in. Thanks
Yeah.
for reminding me.
you
Right,
gotta
man.
get,
Neck
start
planks.
start doing jujitsu.
Yeah, like 3-4 inches off my neck after playing football.
Yeah.
So it's like things like that. It's just like there was just trying to pack on like muscle like anywhere that I could just to get as big, strong, and fast as possible.
Yeah. So that's interesting too, right? So we're going through the kind of the body change. For a lot of people, when they hear, oh, you got to lose 50 pounds, it's, oh, well, you got to lose 50 pounds of body fat, right? That's 99% of humans is, if you got to lose weight, it's because it's body fat. Now, you had the rare situation, which aggravated me to my core, which was, I got too much muscle on my body, man. I'm just huge right here. I can barely fit into normal people's clothes, and I got to burn some of this off. And so that's very rare to just be like, okay, I've just built myself up physically so big.
Yeah, it was.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was just weird because, you know, if you're just trying to burn body fat, right, you just kind of keep working out.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if you're trying to actually lose a bit of muscle to, you know, kind of slim down to be like a normal person, then it's like a weird experience that, like, okay, you know, I can lift that much, but like I'm not going to.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm actually gonna, like, you know, only lift like twice a week now, and, you know, do other things the other days.
Yeah, ramp up conditioning, right? Making sure we're working the right energy systems. But yeah, I thought that was really funny. Just got too much muscle on the body, so we got to dial it back a little bit. That's good. So, so now your target weight kind of 210ish, maybe.
Yeah,
Is
like
where do you think you want to be at? It's like kind of because you still have like a very athletic frame, no matter what. I don't think you could probably ever lose that just because of your proportions. So, is that kind of where you'd want to be? Is like the 210ish?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I just didn't know when I was, right? Because, like, in middle school, I was like a kind of a little bit chubby, and then I went, like, you know, into high school where I'm lifting basically every day to get as big as possible, and then in college lifting, and then, you know, I stopped playing football, and I'm like, I don't know, like, what weight I am if I just kind of let myself be.
Yeah.
So I had no clue, and I've found it's basically like 210 is probably the right weight. You know, I could probably get down below 200, but, like, I kind of think, like, how much happiness do I need to sacrifice to get to lose that 10 pounds?
Yeah, they're just
It's
unsustainable.
Like, yeah, it's
and
like,
because you know that most of that is muscle that you're kind of just letting slightly atrophy. I mean, not really atrophy because it's still toned up, but that's interesting. Is the body fat level has stayed pretty much the same, right? I mean, never at no point in your career did you feel like your body fat was getting too high, or because of the position you played, was a certain part of it just anything on the body to make me heavier?
No, it was the body fat was never like a huge focus for me.
Position,
Yeah, that's awesome.
for sure. Right? Defensive end, right?
Yeah, so defensive end, I mean, I could have gotten as big as I wanted.
Like a Viking out there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just crazy. And with the speed, right? That's another impressive thing, is that the weight's got to be there, the strength and the power output's got to be there, but then that also ties into, man, you need the wheels. So yeah, that's very cool. All about the purpose.
Now it's all about life, being a life athlete.
Yep.
Fitting into your suits, your ties when you have to be in the office, the slacks when the old lady lets you go out and stuff to have dinner when the pandemic's over, and stuff. So that's why you've tried now hot yoga, spinning, circuit training with Bobby and stuff, and then hiking and enjoying things like that. And that's just a different conditioning. And me and Bobby have talked about this in other episodes, is training to be like the athlete you want to be. So more people want to be like triathletes and stuff and be able to do a little bit of everything. Not the best of one thing, but good of everything.
Yeah, it's just that general athleticism, right? It's that well-balanced strength, well-balanced conditioning, and being able to just put it together. And the experience you got early on working up at that gym up there was the injury prevention being the biggest thing. And those lessons, which is cool to see, that's going to go with you for the rest of your life, no matter how you're training. When we're still trying to be moving around 70, 80 years old, it's still going to be injury prevention. It might be a different magnitude, but it's still going to be, okay, we got to keep ourselves in one piece and keep our mobility, keep the flexibility, and keep that body functional. So very nice. Man, so good to have you on the show, man. Thank you so much for jumping on.
Yeah, thanks, Rob, for being here, man.
We're definitely, we're going to cut this up into some pretty good little slices right here. I hope you guys all enjoyed listening to it, and hopefully just using that as that motivation. Whether we're in the gym now, make sure you're staying there. If you haven't got into the gym yet, of course, if you need professionals, give Jason or I a call, or just go to that local gym, try the home workouts. We got a great culture of that right now, too. That's kind of that silver lining of the crazy pandemic madness, is you got all kinds of home programs available now. So get the butt off that couch, keep moving.
Yeah, we love you, people.
We'll talk to you guys soon.